Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I'm trying to go through a series of presentations for validating an HTML form. I went through a series of validating with JavaScript, and then I was going to go over with jQuery. So let me first start by running this. This is actually in our textbook on, I don't know, pages 300, 301, 302, and 303. So the end of chapter 10. And as you can see, it's got a form on it. And if I click submit with nothing, emails required, must be 6 or more characters to the password, verify is required. If I've got an individual, there's no company name. If I've got a corporate, there should be a company name. First name is required, last name is required, and phone number is required. Also, if I come in here and I put in something that's not an address, and not an email, a password that's not 6 characters, a verify that's different, a company name, let's leave it, I don't know, if I put a number in there, it's probably okay. First name, as long as I put something in there, I think it'll be all right. And how about a phone number that's not right? Well, look at how the messages change. Must be a valid email address. It's not. Must be 6 or more characters. Must equal the first entry. So let's start by, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And boom, everything looks okay. All right. Company name, this was all okay, but let's just make it, Acme Widget Company. Jeff Scott 314-286-3675. So I put all that in, click submit, and it says form successfully validated, and it actually goes to another page and shows me all the stuff I entered. And that's good. I can also come in here and I can reset. Boom, everything goes back again. Looks pretty good to me. All right. And, a simple form. I mean, they did put a legend in here with a field set, etc. And there's actually 2 forms in here. All right. And then they have some CSS to pretty them up. But let's look at the JavaScript. I should say the jQuery. We've got our document.ready. We move the focus to our email because that's what's at the top. Then it says the handler for the change event of the radio buttons. What that's going to do is it's going to say if we have picked corporate, all right, then we'll want to make sure that the company name is not disabled. All right, and there'll be an asterisk on the side, meaning we have to put something in there. Otherwise, we pick the individual name. So we will disable. We will disable the that text box, and there'll be nothing in it next to it. Then we have our submit event. All right, the name of our form.submit function event. We come in there with a Boolean variable that's called isValid, and we set it to true. So in other words, we assume that what we're about to try to put in is valid. Then we've got an email pattern. This says take whatever we had put inside of our email, inside of that particular text box, grab the value of it, trim that to get rid of any leading or trailing spaces, and stick it in our variable, our JavaScript variable called email. Check if it's empty. If it is, take the text to the right of our email and say this field is required, and our valid flag will now be false, which makes sense. Otherwise, we want to test it against a valid email pattern. All right, and if it fails that test, then we want to say must be a valid email address, and again set is valid to false. Now, is valid was set to true originally. If the if is not true and the else if is not true, then the else is true. So we just take the text next to that text that came in red, our error text, we set it to nothing, and we take whatever the value was in that email and we set it to our actual email value. And we do a similar thing as we go on here. All right. So we check the password. We again first come in and take whatever is in there, as you can see, and we grab the value, we trim it, and we put it in password. Then we check to see is the length less than 6. If it is, we give it an error message. That's the only validation we're doing. Otherwise, we set the error message text to nothing. And either way, we're going to just grab that value and put it in there. All right? Then we do it with a verify entry. I don't think it's worth going on and on and on in here. All right? Then we've got our first name. Same kind of thing. Our last name. Same kind of thing. Our telephone, and notice we have a pattern for the phone. 3 digits, a hyphen, 3 digits, a hyphen, and 4 digits. Same kind of thing. All right, finally we get down to the bottom. We say here, if is valid was false, meaning we had an error someplace in our code, all right, that we just say event.default. In other words, we don't want to do anything. Otherwise, we come in and we say alert, form successfully validated. All right, but if we get that and it was successful, going back to our HTML, then what happens is we're going to bring up the file register.html. And what does that file have in it? Basically, for lack of better words, it's going to spit back what we just put in. All right? Now, that's the good news. Here's the bad news. All right? I went back and tried to write this myself twice. All right? I'm going to show you both of them. Here's my membership form, so that's really not changed from what we had before. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the actual membership one. Here's my JavaScript. Here's my file. Nope, that's one of them. Here it is. All right. So I came in here, removed all of the errors, the IDs we put in for the spans because we don't need them anymore. All right. And other than that, I didn't change anything in here. Same exact stuff we'd used before. You'll notice that if I run this, looks exactly like it did when I ran it on the earlier versions. Okay? So, first I came in and tried doing it with jQuery. Okay, I put all of my stuff at the top, which should have, I thought at least, should have taken this and it should have made it global. All right? Move the focus to the social security number. All right, again, it's all inside of my document.ready. Then in my submit here, we undo this. I decided to modularize this, and I set my isValid variable equal to the return of every validate. So every one of these had to return true or false. It was already set to true, and it would only be false if it was set to false inside of the routine. All right. So you can see I made some when I went back in the olden days, so to speak, when I learned this stuff, we call this a finite state machine. In other words, you assume something is correct. You take that variable and you set it equal to checking it. If it's still correct, you set it equal to check something else. If it's still correct, you set it equal to check something else. I think you get the idea. All right? So I'm validating everything that's in here through my password. If it wasn't valid, I said error in input and don't do anything. Otherwise, all I did was just put in an alert in. I didn't put in another file like we had in the other one. So let me show you what I did in each one of these. Basically, I mirrored what was in the book. All right, and I put a bunch of alerts in here. These really are not important, but I said that it was equal to that. Trim it. All right, if it's empty, say that it's this, and return. I said return false, and return false would basically, since I'm setting is valid to that, is valid would now be false. I mean, I can come in here because I tried it both ways, and I can come in here and say is valid equal false. All right, I'll just change them all so they look like that. Copy that, If it doesn't match, otherwise set it. I tried the return true. I tried it without the return true. So, again, I'm going to get rid of all my alerts in here. Because I tried a lot of stuff. You can see when you start taking a look in here, there's back to is valid, is valid. All right. Is valid, is valid. City, state, zip, cell phone, so you can see basically what I've done in here, okay? I thought this would have been correct. But when I run it, I get a weird result. This is validate jQuery. So I have to make sure that in here that I am calling validate jQuery. I move this to the top. I move this to the bottom. This is validate jQuery 2, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay? So here was my link to jQuery. And here was my validate jQuery. Just to show you, nothing up my sleeve, as they say. These are the forms. This was HTML simple jQuery, I believe. Let's double check. HTML5 simple jQuery.html. So that's this one. There's JS, and there's validate jQuery. So it is in there. All right. So let's run it and see what happens. It's kind of weird. Watch over here what happens when I click submit. I should get error messages over here. Watch quick. They appear and they disappear. All right. If I put in something invalid here, watch the message that appears here very quickly. It says it's a format error. So if I come in here and I put in a 1 and a 1, these are supposed to be alpha only. Now this is okay no matter what I put in. Same with this. I'll put in a state. I'll put in an invalid zip code. I'll put in an invalid cell phone. I'll put in invalid email. I'll put a password that's too small and I won't confirm right, etc. You've got to watch very quickly. Now, I guess I set that field up as an email field. Let me remove that. That was on me. So our email field, let's just set this up as text. All right, so there is no built-in. Well, it's cached. The old version's in there. So let's try it again. 1, 1, 1, 11, 11, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, and I did not validate these. So let's watch and see what we see here. Okay, it says it returned. The value is undefined. Error in input, it just says that it failed. Now I am at least getting this, and it's staying there. But I'm not getting the other error messages. I don't know why. Plus, if I do fill it out completely, okay. And I'll put it here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ones. And I click submit. Don't worry about that. I get that. I'm not sure why. But I'm to the point where I'm moving on. So, the other thing I did was I went in here into this same folder, and I said, well, you know what? Maybe it's me. So I have a simple jQuery 2 in here. Nothing in there. So I went back to my simple jQuery. There it is. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I ought to do it exactly the way it is in the book. All right, so I made that a 2. And you may say, well, what did that do? Well, look in here. There's validate jQuery 2. And what I did was, as they did in the book, I took everything and put it all right inside of here. See what I'm saying? There are no other functions. I wrote everything in here inside of that routine. So now when I go in there and I run this, again, when I click submit, you quickly saw the errors. All right, I'll put in here just a 1. And you do see, if you look real quick, with a 1, it says there's a format error. 1, 1, 1. I'll leave these blank. 1, cell phone 1, email address 1, password 1, confirm password 1. Click submit. I do get errors, and they appeared almost to be the right error. All right, my clear works. I'm just not sure why this is working the way this is working. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file, save as, and I have a blank form HTML5 simple jQuery 2. All right, yes, I want to replace it. So now what I have in here, and I'm going to send this to Mr. Gudmested. Maybe he can figure it out. Here's our original HTML5 only. All right. Here's our one with JavaScript. Here we tried doing it with jQuery. Here we tried doing it with jQuery. All right. Like I said, I thought everything was cool as far as that went. I also tried to come in and use the jQuery plugin. I've got a big file here. It's got all sorts of, it has all sorts of things in there that I've tried. I had problems with one of the fields. But if you look, this is the information where I got the information from. I found a very good site with articles on validation, so I grabbed that. So these were my rules. Again, I was having problems with the first field, so I got rid of, I commented all that out. And here were my messages. I tried writing combined messages. I tried writing individual messages. I tried virtually everything I could think of doing. So this is validate jQuery plugin.js. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to call this one jQuery plugin, because I don't think I have one up here. All right, so there's the plugin. So this is validate jQuery plugin.js. And I believe, at least when I tried running this, I got errors. Okay, so what I'm going to do, there was jQuery. Oh, I need the validator. I'm sorry, I need to undo the validator. That's on me. There was the validator. And so I call this validate jQuery plugin. Let's double check. Validate jQuery plugin. So that looks correct. Save this, go in there and run it. Nothing's happening. Hit F12. It's giving me no errors. So it's a mixed bag. I'm not much help right now. What I did yesterday was I did 2 mini lectures, basically. They're not really mini. I did 2 lectures on how to use the jQuery plugin. And I proved I'm having problems with it. All right. So hopefully Mr. Gudmested can look at this, because what I am going to do, so this is my validate the JavaScript, the one that works, the validate jQuery, where we've got, it's modularized. This is the non-modularized, and this is the plugin. In addition, I have one CSS file I used for everything. I have the JS I just showed you, HTML5 only, and then we did the simple JavaScript. Then I tried both the simple jQuery, the simple jQuery 2, and the plugin. None of them worked. Over here, I came in and showed, this was kind of like, I don't even need that anymore, but it was the syntax for doing this. These are the rules that I set up under my validation rules. All right, so I'm going to send Mr. Gudmested all of this stuff. And in addition, it has a couple more things in it. It has, I don't want to do that. It's got a cheat sheet that I found that you can use with jQuery Validator, all right, which I thought was kind of nice. And also, it has what I used in the tape that I made on this. 20 pages where I show the different stuff. So, Evan, if you do watch this, please look through my stuff. If you can find my error or errors, a lot of times when I have errors like this, I'm not going to lie to you. They're very simple, and I look right through them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this folder that I have that is called Forms, and I may have a zip copy of it right now that's older, but I'm going to do a send to compressed file, and it's got Forms 2. So I must have a couple of them, but that's fine. Forms 2. And it's 10 meg. So Evan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this right now, and I'm going to go out to the Google Drive. No, I don't want that. It was just in, but I don't know where I'm not now, but I'm not. I will go out and put it on the Google Drive. It'll be out there in a matter of minutes. And Evan, I will send you an email on this telling you to please watch this. Thank you all for watching.